Hey there, my name is Yannick Mounts and welcome back here on Production Music Live. Today I will produce a full organic house track, start to finish, so really in depth, and in the end we'll create this track. I'm super hyped to show you how I produce because I'm using quite a different production system. I'm already producing on a mastered volume. We start with the drums layering. I will give you exact levels that you can use. Then we'll add a pad that gives us a basic harmonic feeling. Then we'll add a bass line, and then we start going into a very explorative phase. And I'll just show you a system that I use with a MIDI quantizer, with a scaler, with an arpeggiator, just by clicking through different Serum presets and having enough that we can work with, but also having enough fun. Alright, without further talking, let's dive right in. So lean back, this is going to be a full-length tutorial. So, we have this audio channel, we can create another audio channel and call this references. So this will be the place where we put all of our reference tracks. So as reference tracks, you can choose whatever track you like. I will only use tracks from the Organica 6 templates and some more that I made in the process. So we have our references right here. So first thing we're going to do is select all of them and just unwarp them because we don't want any fragments of warping. Let's make a glue compressor on our master channel here, just because those tracks here have some little peaks going on here and there and I don't want anything to be clipping. This will be our reference channel. So next step is hit Command and K to enable the key mapping mode. Then we hit the solo button. With any of your key buttons you can choose whatever you want. I always choose the 2 for me, so we can just solo this and be real quick when switching between our track that we'll be building or our loop and the references. Cool. So that's just a basic principle of including your references, and now we can just create a couple of MIDI tracks for a kick, for a clap, for a head/shaker, and a layer. So Command and R is renaming, Command and D is duplicating, and then we need an audio channel for a head loop or off loop and stuff. Okay, then we need Perc 1. And then we can just duplicate this a couple of times. Perc 2, those are MIDI channels at the moment. Okay, head shaker, head loop, head. Perfect, clap. Cool. And then I'll just create a couple more of loop 1. So that's already the basic principle here, is layering all of different sounds so we can really get this thick and nice sounding. And I like to start with the drums because for me it's something that I found, for me it's pretty easy to make drums nowadays. And it's just giving me this rhythmic stability and already sometimes some melodic information hides between all of those percussive elements there. Alright, so let's start with the kick, and then it's already here a very crucial point and something that I personally don't understand about Ableton. But let's first create the MIDIs here. So just a kick on every quarter, like in every electronic track. So let's start exploring Organica 6 samples right here. Cool, so there's the finished sample pack. We have a lot of different kicks, which I synthesized with Kick3, all orientating around Tim Green, Makebo, Volencentia, and all those people. So I'm listening to their tracks and trying to create the same length, same pitch envelope, same punchiness, same clickiness. So all of the different aspects are in here. Let's roll with kick number 36. Okay, so first things with kicks and with Ableton, and that's what I was talking about, is that Ableton is always in the sampler choosing to turn down your sample by -12 dB, which is just a default setting, and I don't know why they are doing it, but I think to create some headroom. And then there's this classic and one-shot mode, and for kick drums, you definitely want to go to one-shot mode because in the classic mode, the ADSR will affect the length of your sample, and we just want the kick, and at least I, at this moment, want the kick to be just played in its whole, okay? As you can see here, our kick is now peaking, and I'm watching this number right here, true peak meter, around -8. And we want to get this to 0. And I've prepared a cheat sheet for you for all of the levels in organic house production, which I found out work well for all of the different elements. And I think that's like the most straightforward kind of thing to do. So if you're just following me along and you have some proper samples and then you have this loudnesses that I will recommend you, then you should be fine and you will have a kind of solid and especially punchy production. All right, so let's balance out the kick. So we can go either here up by 8 dB, so which would mean -4, or we leave it here and we use a utility later on. So this is completely up to you whether you make it up here or here. There are different ways of doing this. I would not recommend touching this one here too much. I would just prepare it to be in the right spot and then later on do fine adjustments with this mixing levels here. First, now I wanna group all of our tracks that we have so far and call this our master. So on our own master, we also wanna insert a glue compressor. So the glue compressor has a very interesting setting right here, which is soft clipping. And we want to enable the soft clipping right here. This will shave off all of the different little true peaks moments that will come through a limiter. But it's also at the same time very, very subtle and very nice. So the glue compressor is acting as a soft clipper right here on our mastering channel. And this is all we need for now. All right, so let's turn up the kick up until this lamp starts lightening a little bit. And this will start around 0 dB because at 0 dB it will start making gain reduction. Okay, so let's turn it up. I want to turn off the snap right here. You can hear with this snap there is this little click in the end of the kick. Cool, let's make a small fade. And now you can see there's this little clip light lighting up every time the kick comes, just a little bit. Okay, and now our kick is very, very punchy. We can already start to reference here. If we take this, for example, if we take this reference loop right here, I can already hear that the low end energy here is kind of the same. Okay, so let's start and layer some things in here. Let's go to loops, and there are those off-head loops that I've made. Some with swing already there, some smaller accents. I really like this one, it's just very, very flowy. Okay, so let's insert this. And you can see this already has a pretty high level. -0.6. That is a little bit too high right here. Let's turn this down by 2 dB. And now we can already go back and forth between references and the loudness of heads in our references and check, okay, how loud should we, like that we get in that direction, you know? I think that's pretty good. So for heads, top loop needs to be around -3 to -1 dB. Depends a little bit on how punchy and strong you want to make your mix down, your production. Tim Green has very, very loud high end, for example. Vol Sentier is a little bit more chill. So kick, 0 dB, head loop, -1 dB, -1 to -3 dB. Cool. Okay, people. So let's add another loop here. The basic principle here is layering. We have our kick, we have our off-head loop that gives us a very nice pronunciation on the off-head, but now we need something that will give us some rhythm, some speed, and some stability in the high end. And that's something that we will achieve with a shaker loop and a noise tool that I've built. There, I will use like this rack quite a lot, and it's free in the download section. I made a video about those racks that we will use here as well. But first, let's get a shaker loop. So we're searching for something that is just very stable, so nothing too off-hatty, just something with straight, more or less straight 16th notes. And everything kind of can work here. I like this one, and with loops and all kind of sounds. If I like something, I rather like put in 5 or 6 loops right here. Or right here, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's search for 2 or 3 more. Okay. No. A little bit, I mean, I like the sound, but just too unstable for me. Very groovy. This could be interesting. Okay. Okay. So I think that's enough. Let's take those over here. Cool. So now we use this noise tool that I made, and we'll put it on this shaker loop. So this will start transforming our shaker into some kind of noisy, grainy vibe. PML Organica noise tool. That's how it looks like. Here on the inside there are some things. Vocoder with certain settings. Okay, but we don't really need to check this out. It's very basic in the end. But important thing is now we turn up the noise amount. Okay, it's just transforming the shaker into a noise, and now we can play with the length. That's also interesting for automations later on. Now our shaker loop is clearly too loud. You wanna have this like -7 dB to, let's say this is a little bit broader range, -7 to -10 dB. Cool. Okay, shaker loop. So we watch always this number right here. Way too loud. Actually, it would also work -11. Yeah, let's just be a little bit more broad here. Okay, so now we're using this one here, and now we just switch through those shaker loops to see which one is just giving us the best feeling. I actually like this one most. It's a little bit loud now. It's even -15 here. I think the range is more something between -9 to -15 dB. Okay, but this is giving us just some very nice tempo. Whoops. We have our head shaker MIDI channel right here, so I will take the MIDI from the kick, put it in here, and then just put it on the 3rd 16th note here. Very small loop. Yeah, but I mean, that's what we need. So let's go to our one-shots again. So for shaker heads, there are 2 things that you can do. I mean, there are more than 2 things, but 2 things that I would recommend you to do. Having one higher layer and one little bit pitch down layer. Whether you're choosing a head for your off head shaker position or a shaker, that's just a little bit like a personal question for you. There are people using mostly heads, which I think, for example, is Makibo is a little bit in that direction. He's, I think, mostly using head style shaker, so with a lot of transient in the beginning. And then compared to that Valencent here, they mostly have some very like smooth, attacky style, more shaker sounds as an off head. Sample picking is really important because it defines also the groove of your high end. It's just more, so that's very tight and very like attacky, or it's like, you know, which is more like swooshy mooshy. Yeah, but that's just the thing to keep in mind. So when picking those samples, I think I really like this one. Sounds slashy, sounds nice. just giving us like longer head samples, give your track a very nice like bounce to like a head naughty bounce. Just filling up great space here. How loud can you make your head? I mean, because we already have like a pretty loud head here in our loop, I think we would probably use this one more as like a layering kind of aspect. But in general, you can make your head like, I mean, we can also like take those heads together and see how they like sum in here on the gain. I think if you're around like -4, so that's main heads is like -4 to -1 dB summed up signal. So that's just the thing that somewhere there, then your offset will be definitely punchy. Okay, so let's create another layer right here, layer 2. And for this layer, I will go to shakers. So let's search for something a little bit longer, and then we'll pitch it down a little bit in the sampler later, and that will create just some like more mid-rangey layer. Okay, something longer. Yeah. Okay. Shaker. Okay, so let's pitch it down. Okay, now it's when we're pitching down, we'll get longer, so we need to adjust the timing here a little bit. That's too early. Yeah. Just filling up the space in the mid-range really nicely. So we can pitch, of course we can pan this a little bit. So switching between. Already kind of loud. I think I want to turn those layers down a little bit. Okay, so now it's gonna get really interesting because claps, well, of course, we're also gonna do some layering right here. And those claps, I've made them very, very punchy, very like gritty, because the style of organic house, especially like this very punchy produced style Tim Green, they just have very loud smacky claps. So those claps are already in here. And we have like normal one-shot claps in the beginning of the folder. And then we have this layers which have like also some room, which can sound very good in the background. And then we have some tight claps, which are very very short claps. Okay, so anyways, there are a couple of like tricks you can use with claps. So let's just double click on the clap. Let's get our MIDI going. And with claps, okay, claps. All right, so clap. Okay, so your clap should be somewhere -4 dB to -8 dB. So watching this around -4 dB to -8 dB. So this could be louder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now I really want you to go a little bit into readjusting the ADSR of this clap, especially also the attack, because the attack time, the amount of the transients, and I'm talking about like the first 14 milliseconds of any sample, it's a very crucial point where if there is too much attack time, it just gets very stiff. It's like tick, tick, tick. And if we smooth it out a little bit, it's just gets a little bit more smacky. It's like, and I'm over exaggerating here, but being aware of that very first transients here, and I think it's actually something you should be aware of with all of your elements, is kind of crucial. So let's just dial in a little bit of attack time here and see how it affects the groove and the clap in general, and how the clap will like go back. You can push the clap back into your mix down. I see it very visually. So we have all of our elements and the little transients are popping out. And now if we have a clap and it's popping out very much, I think we need to like just press it back a little bit. Yeah, here we go. Now it's sitting very much in the background. Of course, we lose volume right here. Now we can start adjusting. Release times and decay times. It's kind of mixing it, you know, it's kind of... The ADSR is actually like a fader, but very smart and time-based in a way. That's how I would see it. Okay, so this clap, I would see this one more as a layer. I don't see this as our main clap. So let's go here, and I just like to flip through different claps and see which one's just giving us a great vibe and a great groove. Yeah, that's too much attack. I like this one. Okay, so let's keep this. Let's just duplicate the channel and see if we can. And that's how I always work. Like if I like something and I just want to go and search if there's maybe something different or something better or something that I can layer, I just duplicate channels all of the time. And then later on you can just turn them off if you don't need them. Also quite cool. Quite kind of loud. Yeah, I like it. Let's keep it. Very tight. Oh yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I like that one. Let's turn this layer. So we use this one as our main clap and this one as our layer. And maybe your layers should be like, I don't know, 4 to 5 dB lower than main. All right, cool. So for the last layer, I wanna get some verb right here, some reverb. We're only going to use the Ableton reverb here, but you can use whatever you want. Okay, so we have, for our clap, we have the punchiness, we have some layering, but now we need like the, how do I say, the breathing of the clap, which will make it like sit very smoothly in the whole production. So that's what we're going to achieve with reverb. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's not too loud and a little bit too long. So the decay times, in general, decay and release and attack and all the timings, something that I would recommend you to manually adjust kind of every time. And it is something, if you have the feeling, it's not groovy, it's just too much, not only loudness wise, but also like too long, then it's something you should take care of with ADSRs. Okay, it's obviously also too loud. Okay, maybe we find a different sample for this clap layer. Let's go to layers here. I think we can use one-shot mode right here. Still a little long. Just giving some depth to our clap. A little bit longer. Okay, let's get into, I don't want to get caught up too much into this, but this is our clap. So yeah, and I think like if you're layering stuff, like you can recheck your levels always on the group channels then. So our clap is at -4. We said clap main should be -4 to -8. And now we're layering it with other stuff, so it's summing up, but I think we're doing kind of good. So if your layers are now way too loud, then you would end up here at like 0 or something, and that would be maybe kind of too loud for your clap. I think we can continue with inserting some percussions. Organica. Let's go to acoustic drum one-shots. Yeah, so those are a mixture between like more, percussive set, conga, bongo, djembe, cajita, and real recorded snare drums and toms. Guiro. And here it's the same principle. You really want to use like your ADSRs right here. So let's get a little bit more release time, because like if you don't have any release time on any sound, things will start like end right away, and it just sounds very, very like robot. Now it sounds, now it's breathing. Like this, it's just, I don't know. Okay, so also here, it's so interesting how you can push it in the background with the attack. Okay, so I wanna turn down the sustain right here. Just making the decay pop out a little bit more. So the sustain often covers up the decay. So yeah, turning down the sustain and turning down the decay and finding the sweet spot between having a release time and having a decay that is long enough to transport the information of the sample, and then smoothing it out a little bit on the attack time. That's like just the things that I'm cycling between here. I don't want it to be too transient-y. Actually, it's actually also a nice clap layer. Okay, so I want to get this like on a kind of groovy 16th position. So, if you're asking yourself how I did that, any channel that you have record armed and you're just like jamming around like here, And then you hit this button right here. It's just giving you all the MIDI back that you just recorded. So Ableton is always listening MIDI-wise, not audio-wise, only MIDI. Okay, cool. So we can create a MIDI clip. And yeah, speaking of groovy and ungroovy positions, it's something that I always say is I look at grooviness in like a gritty way. So we have 4 16th notes, 1, 2, 3, 4 in one quarter note. 4 16th notes equals 1 quarter note. And for all of those notes in here, they are different kind of grooviness aspects. So first 16th note, ungrooviest one. Let's just make this example right here. It's just on the kick like ding, 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 ding. It's just already like, it's kind of blocking the groove even. Okay, second, then a little bit more groovy is the off-hat position. Now it feels like a march, and that's also like, feels a little bit like, in German we say Schlager. And then there are 2 16th positions left, which are the second one right here and the fourth one right here. And those are the very groovy ones. I think the most groovy one, but also the most unstable one, is the second one right here. And this one is like the third most grooviest. So we have ungroovy, groovier, even groovier, super groovy. Okay, but if you have it like this, it's just too much. So even balance between very groovy ones and ungroovy ones is key. And we'll find out about that later. But for now, I want to delete all of those because having something on this very groovy position in every quarter will just confuse. And that's even too much. So let's duplicate the loop and delete it. So with those second 16th notes, you really want to be chill. Okay, so let's search for more percussions. Maybe we can create this kind of using velocity right here. Yeah, I like it. This one is even a little bit loud. I like it. So for your percussions, if they should like be more in the background, I think having them like -10 to like -20 dB, that's like a kind of a good range. It's a little bit hard to say. Sometimes they're much louder, but yeah, I think that's a good general direction. Okay, cool. Maybe we go to ASMR. Oh yeah. So this sample right here is something, I hear this in a lot of productions, especially from Volincenti, that they have this kind of low-end tom, but it's not really like a plucky tom, it's more like a pitched, weird, ASMR-ish kind of thing. So this sample in itself, like playing in the original pitch, already has some very nice low end in here. And then pitching it down. Don't need the second part right here. Can just cut it like this. Then it just gets this really nice tommy feel. So we have something that's also going on in the low end. Let's do something with this. So another interesting thing that you can use if you're not like if you're not able to play groovy, no. If you're not able to play tight in 122, I mean 122 is literally a very, very fast tempo. I'm going to save real quick. Then you can use an arpeggiator, put it to 16th notes, and then it will quantize in a way every incoming MIDI information, and then you will have some happy little accidents with some notes. So what I like to do is just I just jam around here on my keyboard, on my computer. You can of course use whatever you want. There is also a plugin for this. It's a MIDI Max for Live device, and it's called MIDI Quantizer. And that's kind of doing the same thing. I can recommend this. I've used it a lot. So you want to increase the gate here, because otherwise we'll only play like a small part of your sample, right? Skipping the release time here, so the gate influences how long the sample will be played. May go to one shot and just fade it out a little bit. I think I like it. I just like it like this. Also not too often. How loud is this? Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, let's create more of this. Cool, 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 cool. Let's go back into the ASMR. And I think you can kind of make everything fit into your track, right? So talking about like, what should I put in my track, blah, blah. Well, I think if you start using some rules, there's not really any rule at all to use. So yeah, pushing it back with the ADSR or pushing it in with the ADSR, mixing it quieter, louder, putting it on different positions, groovier positions, ungroovier, 16th grid positions. So let's try to get this into our groove. Also nice clap layer. You can also try different pitches. Wow, I like it as a clap as well. Maybe I'm just, let's just use it as a clap layer. I really like it there. And I hear it here on the, what is it? Okay, I hear it down here. Maybe we can just drag it a little bit to the front, because if you have all of your samples coming exactly on the transient of the kick, the initial sounds oftentimes gets like blurred because so much is happening there. Oops. Sorry. Let's start adding some percussive loops in here. And with loops, I think we can go into talking about reverb as well. But let's first have a listen what we have. All super nice. I like all of them. Okay, so let's pick 5 or 6. Nice. Also nice with the little vroom. Cool. So bongo. Bongo loop. Okay, so here we can directly insert a reverb onto this channel and have a pretty high mix and then turn down the decay time. Just giving us this really nice roomy feel. Okay, I think I need to transport all of those into the arrangement real quick, sorry. Boop. Beep. 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 Bongo. Bongo, bongo. Let's switch to high. Okay, so I really like it with a very, very high mix right here because it's just smoothing out our initial transient a little bit. So the attack time is not popping out too much. So this is kind of similar in increasing the attack time on the sampler. I think we can turn the whole loop down a little bit. I think, I don't know, -20 to... I don't know, -15 to -20 dB. Okay, so let's try different loops here. Also cool. I don't hear what this is doing. Okay, cool. So let's take this bongo loop right there. Okay, I think I want to add more percussive elements. I think something a little bit more deep would work here. Go back to... actually, what is also interesting is those cajon loops right here. So you can also take whole loops, hit slice, and then just play different slices of them. Let's add a little bit of fade out, maybe even fade in. So we can just push it a little bit back. Like that. Ding, 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 ding. Command and U to quantize. Let's maybe get some reverb here as well. Okay, so let's recheck with our references. Missing all of the synths, obviously. Okay, so another interesting thing here with the bongo loop is this pitcher plugin that I used to build a rack. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just a white pitcher based on this shifter right here. So you can pitch it down here and it will spread out your sample. So listen what happens to this bongo loop. I think that's pretty cool. Make it a little bit louder again. Maybe we can get some reverb on this lower. Yeah. Just smoothing it out. Cool. Let's create some kick groove. So we will use a kick, different kick than the main kick. And then something with a little bit less attack time. So this would be wrong. Maybe this sounds kind of moody. And then we can enable the filter a little bit. So now we want to increase like the low end groove, because in a lot of organic house tracks in the beginning you don't have too much bassline stuff going on, but more like groovy, deeper percussions. I think like 1 or 2 here and there. Yeah, I like it. A little bit quieter. Let's try also a very short room on here. That's too much. Make it louder. Nice. Okay, so we could do a little experiment right here. Let's use so this would be more the Sentier style kick in a way, and this is the Makebo style kick. So we will use kick number 16. Kick 16. 15, sorry. So this is the more modern kind of kick. And let's see if this is, so that's interesting. This sample, we can make it 2 dBs louder. Now it's starting to clip a little bit, and that's fine. So that's already much like, it's like much more transient, much more on point, but at the same time, this one here is a little bit more like, I don't know, vibey and chill. Sounds very modern to me, this one. I mean, we can decide later on. It's totally fine if we start working with 2 kicks and then later on decide which one we're going to take. Let's add one last little layer right here, and I think then we're good for all of our drums. It's already a lot. Cool, we have bongo loop, blah, blah, blah. So here we want maybe a top loop or another like perc loop. Let's see. Oh yeah, we could make like a great fill here. Yeah. Okay, now it's way too loud. Let's turn it down. some reverb. Okay, like this. We have the fade out here. Yeah, I like smoothing it out with the reverb a little bit. But that's not actually what I meant. I mean, you can go on here forever. I think more is more in this sense. At least I like it. Okay, so we have conga fills. We have like more tonal stuff. It's like Tommy stuff, tom loops. Ah. Oh yeah, I like this. I think as a layer it's very cool playing together with this toms. Dum, dum. This has this very snappy in the beginning. I want them to be like on the same layer here. I like it. Dum, dum. Dum, dum. Okay, and then always you can add like a top loop in the end. Where are our top loops? I mean, there's so many fucking loops here. So nice. Oh yeah, why not? Oh yeah. Still not a top loop. That's also okay, let's go on. Yeah, I mean this is like fully in, super nice. Loop. Okay, people, I think we have enough drums. So, and we can already add stuff later on. So let's take all of those drums, group them. So this is our drum group. Okay, and here we can have a glue compressor on this group with the soft clipping enabled. Where's our glue compressor? It's here. If two signals are coming at the same time, they will start creating more peaks. Basic explanation of summing is that different elements, if they come at the same time, will create new peaks. Bongo plus hi-hat coming at the same time will create a new peak. So all of our drums here will sum up to each other and will be louder together. And that's why I want to insert a glue compressor on our drum group with the clipping on. It's not doing anything right here. It's just, if there is some peak occurring, it's just clipping it off. And that's super nice because then our glue compressor on our master later on does not have to do as much. Let's start adding some harmonics. So my workflow is now adding like Serum pads. So Serum pad 1 and then later Serum pad 2. So just to get like a vibe going. So for that, let's just open up Serum 2. And in Organica, there are like over 80 presets that I made. Check out this pad. A lot of reverb, multi-sample mode. We'll go into detail later on. Yeah, I'm searching for something that's like super epic. So for this kind of material, the trick here inside Serum is using those multi-sample modes with a lot of reverb. So we have macros down here that are mapped to the reverb and stuff. So I think that's perfect for creating like a starting ambience, a little bit too loud. Let's duplicate this. Alright, so I don't know. Maybe we just go with D minor. And we can really make this like quiet in the background. Just the starting. Turn down the cutoff. You really want to push like your first atmosphere. It should set the tone, but it's just very subtle, barely hearable. Something like this. Okay, cool. So duplicating the channel, that's just my workflow is like just duplicating all the channels, and now we can use a scaler plugin with a minor scale. Yeah, so we are in D minor. So now I cannot really hit any wrong notes right here. Okay, so now it's basically layering pads on top of each other, creating different vibes, maybe already getting an idea of, okay, this could be nice, this could be a direction, but very like, we're just setting like a harmonic reference point. So later in the next step, we can add a bass, and we have already this harmonic structure. So we can really like get the feeling that when the bass is changing to different notes, if we want to make a progression or something, we just have this reference point. I think that's a very important and very nice way of working. All right, so let's just click through the presets and see what we can come up with. Already a vibe. I'm playing C now. F major. Higher. Just going in thirds here. Yeah, I mean, let's just keep this. That's kind of a little progression. Let's duplicate it, let's get not too hung up on this. Okay, and let's open Serum again, switch the preset. louder. I actually like the sound here. But maybe it's like very high in the background. Maybe it's already enough for a bass. Let's just maybe only use a little chord here in the end. Let's get some bass going. Okay, so for bass, I have presets, obviously. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, so bass basically needs to be kind of deep. And level-wise, bass level should be around -6 to -3. -3 is very loud for this genre, but for example in like trance, the bass is up to -0 dB. We are -4, so I'm not looking here. Like I think people get confused looking at this fader rather than looking at the actual peaks right here. Only because this is saying -6, it doesn't mean it is -6 dB loud. It's -2 at the moment, and this changes from preset to preset, obviously. Okay, so this is very plucky, very nice. Could try it. I don't know if this is too depressing. Okay, so for bass lines that are kind of repetitive, or they're in the first kind of bar, you have your root note, and then you're playing it kind of often, and then you're playing 2 or 3 other notes, and then you're coming back, and that's like the loop that you can explore, okay? So I'll just try to do this. So that's all D. Let's make this a little bit louder. D, 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 C. Okay, and here really this MIDI quantizer could help us because I'm not a type bass player at all and I have a little bit of latency going on. So this is a free Max for Live device, you can just download it on the internet. And I cannot do anything wrong. Like just setting a very groovy like first like bar is very nice. Let's just take this. Basically we have D in the beginning, then we have C coming back to D, and then we're making this little turnaround with A and F right here. Alright, now I want to turn off the MIDI quantize, and now we need to quantize our notes here manually, because there is one issue with this MIDI quantize. The MIDI quantizer only works when you're jamming. Command A, select all of them and quantize them, and now we're searching for a pattern that's groovy and that's repetitive, and then we will replace some of those notes, because I want to have some stability in my bass line, choosing the best parts right here and replacing the other ones. And that's just something we will find out. I like this one. We also should have like one on the very downbeat. Okay, let's just try this. I like it because it's kind of doubling the percussive element in the background. So maybe for the second part we always use this dun dun dun. Okay. So now we're repeating, so this kind of stability in rhythm, so the rhythm is always reappearing. I think that's pretty important. Now we can just take those. Bop, 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 beep. Is it right? Yeah. Okay. And here we are. Maybe we check if this is cool. If the turnaround notes are a little bit off the system that we are making up. Okay, let's add sidechain. Open this up, blah blah blah. Any of the kicks. This can really pump. Let's get to -6 again. The bass end is kind of unstable in volume, it's changing a lot. Okay, I like it. With the different kicks, right? This is much more straightforward. But we're getting in a very good direction. We have our bassline. Let's duplicate this one here and open up our loop. Now I found this pad here to be a little bit like, I don't know, depressing. So I guess we're just layering the first pad again with the second one and creating a little bit more atmosphere there. So for pads, I haven't wrote down the level. I think it's around like -35 to -40 dB, like atmospheres pads. Serum Atmo pad. Okay, so let's double the pad. Just a D minor chord here. Okay, so now the whole production process starts getting into a direction that is not as straightforward and clear as the first drum section. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I think there's also not really a rule on if you should do this or that now. I think it gets pretty free from the point where you have like some kind of harmonics and a bass. And then you're starting to develop your track and starting to explore presets. You start to build synths, you start to jam around, and it all comes together. And you're kind of recording all of the time if you're working with outboard gear, getting your vibes there, and then suddenly you will start. Oh, this is a cool idea. This is making sense together at this point. So we really want to provoke happy little accidents in our production. And I think that's the thing that you should listen for in the end. I mean, I don't have 100% clear direction of where I want to go. I want to make an organic house track. I have the sounds, I have the loops. Okay. But I think like explaining you how to exactly do this and you have to do that, that's not creating any freedom for you. So for me, it's really important just to give you some general direction that makes sense with levels and stuff. Get the elements in the right mixing spot and in the right sound design and in the right areas, frequency areas. And then it's up to you. I mean, it's your melodics that come out of your mind. It's your harmonics. It's your vibes. And I mean, that's the thing that you should transport into your music, because I mean, that's the value that we have from each and every individual person. So philosophy, Yannick, off. Let's continue. I personally want to explore some little bit more punchy and arpsy kind of stuff. And for that, I want to, get another Serum right here. So this will be Serum ARP, I guess. Let's delete the MIDI information. And with this ARP, I want to patch this from scratch. So if your Serum will probably not look like this, I've saved this preset for you so you can start exactly at this point right here. Synthesis is just such a huge thing. I could go and dig into this for like hours. In general, it's just length is really important. ADSRs are very, very important. We have a long glide here. We can turn that off here or down here. Then we have our cutoff. It's not really opening it up. And then we have our envelope 1. And so just listen to the difference. Let's just do something very basic. Oops, very deep. Okay, I want to show you the difference the length of a synth envelope can make. So let's make some 16th notes here. All right, so listen to this. Very annoying, very just, I would never use it this way. How you can change it is if you make it pluckier, if you make it shorter, turn down the sustain. Turn down the decay. And that's a completely different world. That's only the length of a sound. You can hear it. It's just very nice. If it's short, it's very plucky. You're basically sound painting. Whether this was just like covering up everything. Like you cannot hear any more details. There's no room to breathe. And you want to give back this room where things can breathe. And you can do it either in length or in frequency. We could leave it this long and just turn down the cutoff. And then it's not annoying so much, but this would be more a cover-up technique than really just adjusting the decay times to the track and to the groove as well. I actually like this kind of vibe. Maybe we insert some noise here. Where is the noise? Do you hear any noise? I don't hear any noise. No. Okay. Now we have a groovy synth, which is just short, just a saw wave. But now we can start developing some kind of patterns here. I think for this I would also use the MIDI quantizer. Maybe we even use an arpeggiator. So we're first quantizing our incoming MIDI information to the grid. Then we're arpeggiating it, maybe even over a couple of octaves. And then we're fixing it to the minor scale. So there's really nothing we can do wrong at this part. And now I'm just hoping for any cool little melodic randomness and feelings. And I think the circumstances are now pretty good for this. So it's really about creating a system for you that helps you get a feeling that you want, that you like and that you want and that you always want to have. And if you have this kind of system as we have here, then it should be easy to create something that you like. And now arpeggiator set to 8 notes. Let's turn to 16. Sorry, I can show you what I'm playing. I'm just like kind of noodling around here on the keyboard. 5th. Always trying to mostly play the D in stable places, so I try to go with the bass line a little bit. Let's make this sound a little bit louder. Maybe we can, I'm just thinking making it really wide. Turn down the mix here on the hyper. On the filters here. I mean, I already like maybe we just go with this one. I think it's very simple, just this free octave style arpeggio. Turn off the MIDI quantizer, very important. It's even, we can add some EQ, taking off that low end. A little bit less drive, I think it's a little too loud at the moment. Let's add some reverb. And I'm just doing this to get a feeling for how, like, later on in the track, if we add reverb and we open up the preset, if it will create a nice vibe that I like listening to. Plate is not a good mode here. Let's cut out the lows of the reverb. Creating a very nice and stable tempo. Okay, cool. I like that. So let's just explore more presets. We can get our quantizer back. So those presets are all inside Organica 6. Let's go to maybe chords. Make it short. auto right here. I like this kind of vibe. Okay, so you can turn down the sustain here. Or here. Wow, that's so crazy what the decay time does. Okay, I'm just playing D minor all the time. I mean, you can always access this from like a different angle. If you cannot or don't want to play anything on your piano, you can get your bass line and then just start building chords on top of that. So let's try this approach. Just get all of those notes a little bit higher. Let's enable the scale mode, D minor. All right, so fold or scale in this case. So with D. And now we just want to build like a triad. So I'm taking, by selecting the D, I'm taking all of the D notes here, F and then A. So that's just a basic D minor triad. Then we have C. And the cool thing is here that you cannot do so much wrong. I think we will stay on some notes right here. Maybe it will sound cool, maybe not. I don't know yet. I need to listen to this, but going always on the basic triads with all of your chords can sound a little bit, yeah, I don't know, amateur. Or let's try to keep some notes the same and others not. And that's something that we will find out. I don't know yet. I cannot really anticipate if this is going to sound in any way good or bad or something. So yeah, let's just try it. Sounds a little bit weird here in the end. Sounds weird here. Let's just take the same thing here. And we change like something here and there. Covering up the bass line, but we find a good mixture between like having some on the bass and some not. I don't really like the last for those MIDI informations. Okay, this is already fun playing with. Let's explore a little bit more. So we have our chords. And I think now we need some like background vibes, additional melodies, longer stuff, just something to fill the space. Actually, let me try something. Let's just create an audio channel right here and call this resampling mellows. So we kind of just collect a lot of material. So basically we are resampling this channel. You can select this here. So audio input of this resampling channel is not resampling. It's just a track, whatever track you want to resample. In this case, it's this Serum ARP, or it's the like Melodics ad. So you can see here, we're resampling this channel. And the idea here is, especially for example, I do this a lot when I'm working with like Omnisphere or something, or like, you know, when you're stacking atmospheres, you just want to create these vibes, but you don't want to have like 15 Omnispheres or whatever CPU heavy plugins you're using. Then you just resample it and then you have like bounce it to audio. So it's not really the main melodic thing right here. It's just like I will have everything recorded in audio, and then later on I can choose from the audio, loop smaller bits and stuff, and just be free and have fun and create cool stuff. Yeah. So let's get the MIDI quantizer back. So now you basically just hit record, and then I will switch through preset, and we will all record it here in this channel. So you can see it's recording right here. So now I'm just trying to give it its space, you know, so it can fade out. Octave higher. Okay, next preset. Now I'm trying to play like an A minor over an F. And those are like delayed chords here, as it's also displayed, so it's really just something we can use to like get into the next part. So that was an A, C, D. So when I'm playing, I'm often trying to land in the end on the root note, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's not like 100%. So it's not unimportant what you play, but I mean, we have the scalar, and as long as you land on the root note of your track, or the root note of the chord that's actually playing at the moment, which is now D minor, then it kind of doesn't matter really what you're playing in a way. As long as you're kind of ending the phrase on either the root or the third or the fifth of the root note. Okay, so let's continue. I can just record over this. Oh. Let's turn down the delay. Interesting. A little bit loud. It's so good because it's so short, right? If it was long, I don't know, it wouldn't be as groovy. Okay, so this is this, and I think this is a happy little accident. So, this one is something we should save. So it's Balafon, I don't know, ARP. Sounds like an ARP. Let's mute this channel, but let's continue with our resampling, because that's actually where we came from. I think this is such a cool way to develop ideas and you don't get like too stuck on anything else. So I think the main parameters of synths that you should tweak is length, frequency, effects. Of course, effects also are part of length. Reverb, delays make things longer, make things more dreamy, making them short, making them long. It's always this play between like short and long things. Okay, let's continue. Let's resample more. We are not... oops. Okay. I just... I have the wrong channel right here. So this is the Balafon, and this is the melodic resample. So I need to change that here. Sorry. I was a little bit confused. Weird sounds, but cool. Like as an FX later on we can... just in the background creating this. Those are very nice transitional things, and we don't need, like we have them in audio, so we keep them there. We don't need those serums. Okay, so I think this is also a cool idea. Melodic lead sound. Okay, so you can develop patterns very fast by just flicking through different presets, taking everything you want. You don't have to be scared of like just flipping through presets, and that's the way you should think about all of this. Is don't get too caught up, have fun, flip through presets. And I mean, I'm only using my presets now, and I have a ton of synths, which later on I will also tell you my favorite processings and VSTs and stuff. But already with only those Serum presets that I made for Organica, it's so nice. Okay, so now I think I want to get those two right, and then we can start arranging a little bit. And that's the way I work. We have our drums, we have our basic loop. Now we're filling it up, we're making it energetic, we're making it nice. And then we see, when we have arranged it, do we need a little bit more pads, fills, drums, layers, noises, FX, transitions, swooshes, resampled material, noises, and all of this stuff. Let's get our melodies to a good point. I want to start with the melodic lead sound because I like it. Okay, so now I'm just listening for how good it works with the rest. I like this part here. Okay, I think I like this part most. So another way to really get the exact MIDI information that you got from the quantizer and that you record here is to resample the MIDI from that track. So that is track 34. So I need to resample the, what is it, melodic lead sound here. Sorry, what's happening? What is happening? I'll just resample all of this. Maybe I'll decide myself later for something else. This part actually more now. Let me. I think I like this part most at the moment. I cannot decide. That was just something I was feeling because it just stays up there. So now we can put the MIDI, the quantized resampled MIDI information on top of here and turn off the quantizer. We don't need it anymore. And now we have tight MIDIs. And now we could check something. Making things a little bit more aligned with the chords could maybe help. Rhythmically aligned. So what I want to do, loop a smaller section, like one loop, and then you can either like watch it here, right? Like watch where those start and where those start, and then readjusting some notes. So I want to still watch this. So I'm only looking at, wait, let's make this green, and let's make this, I don't know, red. I'm looking at the starting points of the MIDI informations and trying here and there to realign some of them. So I can see that's aligned, that's aligned, that's not aligned. Not aligned means super groovy, super nice differences, but maybe it's flowing better if it's on the same note. And we need to listen in context. You have this pause here, which is getting emphasized by pushing this one to the right here. this is jumping out too much a little bit. The gaps here are quite nice. Aligned all of them together. And make it plucky for now. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's get the balafon. Balafon. Okay, also for the balafon, I want to resample the MIDIs because it's based on this MIDI quantizer, and that's just a downside of this MIDI quantizer. You always have to do this kind of painful process. I mean, you can also go in and quantize them here, but then Ableton is doing a different quantization as the MIDI quantizer is doing. So if you really want to get the exact result that you have on a balafon, you should resample it with another MIDI channel. Yeah, on the one hand, you can jam in rhythm and in time, and on the other hand, you have to do this kind of painful process. But yeah, that's just how it is. Okay, so let's resample it, and it's also not that hard. It's very funky. Just jumping around. It's definitely what we're missing, some kind of funny. Okay, same process. Delete the MIDI quantizer right here. Right click, consolidate. Good. Maybe you can make it even shorter. Okay, that's our resampling. Let's just explore this a little bit. Yeah. I like it. We can even do more resampling. Let's get another Serum here. We have another Serum right here. Okay, let's Serum resample. Let's resample more. For example, like pads, background vibes, delays, all this stuff. So let's go to our final presets folder. I don't know, let's get some plugs maybe. And I also want to get my MIDI quantizer. Let's go. Just some hits here and there, only pressing the root note. think we don't want to get like too mysterious in a way. We want to stay in this kind of happy little dancey style. The envelopes. Dun, 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 dun. So here the trick is with this kind of fill melodies, with those kind of fill melodies. I don't know if we like need it or if we're going to use it, but the trick here is to start on bar 4 and to lead into bar 1. So I think a huge, how do I say, mistake or issue is always starting your melodies on the downbeat, on the very 1. Because it's not the most grooviest part to start your melody. And a lot of singers, for example, if you listen closely, you will hear that they start their phrases for their texts and they're singing before the 1. So they're singing into the down. So that's just something that I would recommend, being conscious about where you start your melodies. Okay, let's continue. And I just want to go, I mean, this is all fine and stuff, but let's go to maybe FX here and get some really like, because I just want to get some vibes and then we can go into arrangement. Alright, so I've collected a lot of material right here, pads and stuff like that. So yeah, we can use this later on. Pads and background stuff. And that's also background stuff. And there's a balafon pads, there's a lot. This is the channel we don't need. And this is auch background stuff. Okay, so we have 3 channels for background stuff. Let's group those. Let's just clean it up. Let's just clean it up a little bit. Balafon. Yeah, so that's Balafon melody perky. So that's interesting. It's just a very perky melody. I like it. And now, oops. Okay, so now we have everything that we need. We have Serum ARP. We have blah blah. We have some chords. So those are all of our melodics right here. Where's our bass? Bass can go up to the kick. Atmosphere can go down. So we can just a little bit of cleanup right here. So those are all of our melodics. So every melodic that is not bass needs to be low cutted. I've saved this EQ8 here as a already with this low cut turned on around like 200 hertz. You can do this as well because most of the times I'm using an EQ every time. So if you right click and then save as default preset, saves your EQ in the current setting as a default. Helped me a lot, so I don't have to do all those steps every time. Okay, so let's get into the arrangement now. Let's select all of our loops and you either right click and duplicate time or you hit Shift Command and D. And then I just re-click here again. So it's taking all of our information and now I just want to make the track long. Okay, that's maybe a little bit too long. Maybe we do it like 530. So we cut the rest right here. So now we are 540. Could even stop at 5 something. Depends whether you're making extended mix, radio mix, and so far and so on. All right, so now really we can start with our arrangement really roughly. I like to, we had those pads in the beginning, so I think we can easily take everything out that is not the pads in the beginning and in the end as well. And then we have the bass. Bass also can wait for some bars. So this is just me, that's just basic arrangement, you know, like in the beginning you don't want to have any bass, you don't want to have too much going on, you don't want to overcomplicate stuff, for the DJ that will maybe playing your track or also for the people so they can get into this vibe of the track is just developing. It's already a little bit too much, like with those loud fills. That's good. Melodics coming in. Then we can insert an EQ here on the kick. And then together with the bass and we automate it off. That's cool, that's groovy. Okay, now I actually just have to try. Okay, that's funny, but I think it's not the right time for it. Yeah, this one, Serum ARP makes sense at this point. So let's open up Serum. Let's click this little drop-down menu right here and hit Configure. And then we can start mapping out different parameters so we can automate them later on. And automation here is king. So I wanna automate the cutoff mainly. We could automate the decay and release times, for example. Can be interesting, making it super ungroovy, make it long, and then bam, snapping into a short one. So those are mostly, maybe you want to automate glide or you want to automate different layer volumes. Like if you're having a second layer coming in at a certain time, that's something we could use to increase the, how do I say, interest of this element later on in the track, just to create more tension, higher melodic, higher energy. Our question could be, where do we make our first break and how do you even make a break? Well, a break is kind of easy to make. You just delete a kick and there's your break. So I think most of the times the first main drop of a track will be at 65 or 49 or something, but not really much later. So we have, so that's our main drop, that's our break. We have our intro. We have our bass in, and then we have some kind of like ARP coming in. Oops, oink. ARP coming in a break, ARP coming in, bass in, main drop. And then we need to like people dance. And then we will, and then I think most of the times you will have like 32 bars of people dancing, and then you will have another break, and then you have like main drop 2, and then you have outro. So that's just like a very basic kind of arrangement. And like arrangement, for real, it's just playing with dynamics, high energy, low energy, a lot of elements that open up, longer, noises, a lot going on, and then snappy, tight, kick drum, bass, groovy. And that's just the contrast you're playing with. And then trying to make those kind of smooth, especially in organic house, it's really important to make it as smooth as possible. I mean, different artists have different preferences right here. Volunteer is super smooth, very, very long arrangements. Kick, bass sometimes coming in for the first time, like after 2 minutes or something. I think that's like super pro, because if you want to be able to do this very, very long arrangements, everything has to be super much on point. So very conscious sample selection, very interesting melodic ideas, very, very vibey textures. Always sounds like their productions sound very, also very expensive in a way, like very high quality plugins and stuff like that. Yeah, I think for this production, this first as like a skeleton works out pretty well. Let's do the drum arrangement a little bit later. It's like everything is in at the moment here, which is of course way too much. We have a Serum ARP coming in, and now it's just listening for surprises that are weird and are not like very nicely to hear. So yeah, let's just listen from here, and then we can automate our Serum ARP. So it's coming really out of nowhere, filtering out every bit, starting here very low and then starting to come up. Maybe, do we have reverb here? Yeah, maybe we also wanna automate the reverb mix in the break. I don't know about the balafon here. We could use some background noises here. Turn it down. Open it up. Yeah, it's cool, but it's too loud. ARP can open up. Okay, now you know what I mean. Way too punchy at this part. So here also with the chords we want to automate cut off. We want to make them long. We want to have the reverb, the delay, the stereo layer, the noise. Like here we can automate quite a bit. But first thing is going very chill with the cutoff. Still hearing some more background noises. Okay, so now we can create another channel, and this will be our operator. operate, and we'll make a white noise by ourselves, which is fun. And we can directly insert an EQ, because for the white noise we don't need any like lowered information. Any note, legato, white noise, not audible, and now turn off all the oscillators right here. And now you have to click here to enable the wave, and then go for noise white. All right, white noise, and then we can automate the frequency. And then the more resonance you give to a white noise when you're making it, the more obvious it will get. Right. Cut off all, like, this stuff is really just messing up our whole mix, so. And it's way too loud, but another interesting thing is the spread feature here. It's making it super wide. And then I want our white noise when it's ending to fade out very smoothly. So we go back to our A oscillator envelope and increase the release time and the decay time to, I don't know, 10 to 20 seconds. Okay. In the end, you have to be a little bit conscious about the way you're automating stuff, because here it's not doing so much. You know, you don't think that there's happening so much in the white noise as here. So making this a little bit more curved with option and then dragging it into this direction makes sense. Maybe a little bit less cut off here. Okay, so here we can make this one longer, just creating those dynamics. Also with the reverb. Sounds a little bit cheap at the moment. Okay, lead is coming up. Maybe we'll make it a little. I like this effect right here. I can use that in the beginning as well. I'm just very conscious listening now to all of the details and just trying to anticipate what I would like to hear at this point. Maybe it's noise again. So if you want to copy over your white noise with the automation, you have to turn this lock here off. Bop bop. People dance, then that's the break, right? Starting at 97, yeah. Okay, break. 2. Yeah, we need to like keep some power at this point for main drop 2. But I think we're going to solve it over the What do I want to say? I'm confused. We're going to do it with the melodic lead and the Serum ARP that's coming in again. Okay. And more sidechain on this ARP. Bit down in volume. cutoff can open up. Mainly it can get longer. Chords can get longer. Break could even be longer. Okay, I have to chill. Okay, another thing that we are running into is as we are, so we have this parts where our bass drum is not playing, and as our bass drum here is the main sidechain input for our synth and our bass, well, we're losing that sidechain pump in the break and it's all starting to get very loud. That's not what I want. So I'm just duplicating the channel, and we're using this as kick sidechain. So let's turn all of those ones on, and then we're going to insert a utility and mute this channel. And now we have to go back to our channels where we have sidechain and see that we choose pre-FX here. So we have always our sidechain, and we have our real kick right here. Kick sidechain, cool. Where is sidechain? Here, pre-FX, because if we have post-FX, it will not get any signal because we're muting the signal. So that's why we're doing it. Pre-FX, background stuff, nope. It would be nice to have... Yeah, I like it all. Would be nice to have some sidechain on our white noise. Let's see in Organica 6 if there's something we can just improve, put some stuff in here and there. Melodic material. Poppy, but also a little bit sweet. Like, what is this, vocal chop or something? Maybe we don't need it this early. Okay, now here on our drum group we want to reverb. Long decay time, no high cut, no pre-delay, but a low cut. And that's just our like washy delay reverb in the break. Okay, so we just want to make it, just wash it out all a little bit. I think this can come out of the filter. Chords are can add echo later on here on this vocal chop. A lot of feedback. Stereo or ping pong. You just want to wash out everything in the break. Yeah, we need white noise. Then we also want to close down the white noise here in the drop. This could be interesting. It's this little high bleeps. What is that? Maybe with echo. I mean, we had some very high kind of, where are those? You know, like those smaller bits. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Then we also need automation on the bass, because the bass should lose strength in the breaks. So we're just automating a low cut. Going up here. So our main drop is actually now here. So that's just something that came to our minds because, you know, we were feeling it. I thought this break could be a little bit longer. Okay, going up to, I mean, it should be kind of audible, but the low end information should be gone. Maybe we can make this longer. Just slightly. Maybe we don't want any delay on the... Yeah. We don't want any delay on the chords in the drop. And then we can slowly fade in the stereo layer. Yeah, it's nice that the arc is coming in here. Can be opened a little bit more. Let's make it even shorter. Yeah. Open it up in the second main drop. We need some impacts here. Just making them louder. I don't have those under control at the moment. So they're just doing whatever they're doing. Okay, maybe we stay on one note in the end of the break, and it's just like that will increase the tension quite nicely, and then the progression opens up again in the drop 2. So for that, especially in the bass, we just copy over this part. We need to readjust the automation. Yeah, this part I should have clicked this one here, then the automation wouldn't have been picked up. this jump. Okay, I'm starting to hear something. Let's get a Serum. I'm hearing like a mid-range layer. So, yeah, let's just patch this real quick. Okay, we have our, like, that's a default preset. I have a different video on YouTube talking about this preset and how to build it. It's just a nice little tool. But yeah, now we want sustain. We don't want so much pluckiness right here on our filter. That's too open. Maybe some glide. Mono. No delay. This is the right octave for it. What did I heard? Could start with this drone right here. Something like this. So we're starting with this very high note. Ba 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 ba. No, we're not. Actually, we're not. And I definitely want sidechain here. Drone, patch, lead. Oops. Weird stuff going on in the background. Why is it not playing? Huh? Huh? What's happening? Ah. Oh. Okay. Weird. Just fixing this. We could automate this as well. I really like the vibe. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. So this turns out to... I think the track wants to be a little bit longer at this moment, because we're just introducing this last element here. Okay. Cut off. master here in the drop, the Serum chords. I'm just automating the length a little bit here and there. And I think this part, no, I think this part can be a little bit longer. Okay, also on the master, in the break, we can do some automation. Just making it thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. Not like super much, but a bit, a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. A little bit. Safe. So for the drums, we can put a auto filter on the drums and make a very smooth automation. So the drums are closing down, but not completely. Very chill. Just like the loud high end should go away, but we still have like, yeah, a little bit too fast. So it's good if you have like other sounds coming, then you can like blend one. Okay, now we're opening up the drums again, but not fully. Opening. Just a little bit. I think like we don't have to delete all of those. About like layering one open head there in the end. So there are those like 909 kits in Ableton that are pretty nice for this stuff. Just a nice open. Mid-tom. Yeah. A little bit louder. I don't know if I like it a little bit more when it's like dynamic. Here it's a little bit muddier. So like mixing and cueing, I don't do that like in the end. I just all do it at once. I like this. Okay, let's listen from the beginning. Drums. Okay, we can definitely have less drums in the very beginning. Especially like the layers. Clap. this looks very good. Maybe we have a little bit high end in general. A little bit. But that's something that I would like later on, if I'm really like, you know, have some proper like reference tracks from other people that are already mastered, then I would go about and like listen, how's the high end and stuff like that. I actually like this Makebo style kick more. Here we can do the same kind of automation as in the second break with the drums, getting rid of the high end. We don't have any reverb automation here. Soft clip those chords here. Just making little length adjustments for the interest, basically. Use it like as a rhythmical thing. I don't like the start of it. I like it how it stays on the one harmony here. Sounds super good. We need to put this one here, otherwise the MIDI is not starting. Let's make this. You have to be really conscious with those lengths of the arp. That's way too long. Automate the delay, the chords. Just like going up at a random point, or not random, like here after 16 bars. Interesting is if you use the Redux on this kind of vocal choppy loops, that's kind of cool. Ziegelreibend, P3 AIF, alright. And I think like we are kind of good to go. This is something Sébastien Léger uses a lot. And then automating this rate here. Just going back and forth. Okay, so let's search for a fill. Let's go to Organica 6. Where are my fills? Fills. Toms. Acoustic percussion. Is it there? Ah, yeah. I don't know my sample pack anymore. Acoustic tom. Yeah, why not? Let's get some EQ. I think it's a little bit muddy. Okay, so this needs to be very present. So you can make stuff, even if it's like maxed out here, you can just enable the soft glue and glue compress and just make up. Yeah, I like it, but maybe we find a better one. Yeah, this could work. Yeah, I think I like this one more. This ARP, we should also kind of automate the reverb here, so it's also kind of flying away. It's a little bit too concrete for my taste in the break. Hello? Hey? Is this the right? Why can I not automate the reverb? Okay. And then we just take a reverb right here. Yeah, I like it. Okay, but I wanted to search for a fill also for here. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-boo. Yeah. Which one was it? Ah, this one. Turn off the shakers here. Yuppa, we're getting there. So this is in the wrong group here. Main head group. You can insert some more fills here and there. So fills always need to be right in front of. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. Right before the next 8 bars start. A little bit too crazy. We can also use for the beginning. Always use a different one so they sound slightly different. Noise. Let's listen here. This pad is going on for all of the time. It's restarting here. That's not what I want. I just want to have like a monstrous one note pad kind of a thing. And we could think about also opening up the cutoff of the pad in like during the track. Main drop, we're closing it again. Where is this 8 Hz? Okay. Break 2, opening it up quite a lot. Yeah, this is actually making quite a good difference. A lot of lows in this one here. Also in the ARP. Let's make this like really gritty and no low end in there. Can have a little bit more reverb at this point. We need to set the reverb to the end, otherwise pumping too much. I can use some reverb on those fills. It's cool, it's smoothing them out. Can make them here a little bit louder. Yeah, it's good pushing them back in the mix a little bit. Yeah, maybe even with a short decay time. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, what else can we do? And I mean, that's like the fun part now. Now we have the arrangement, it's done, and now we can just start adding and adding and adding up until we think it's finished. And I don't know when a track is finished, to be honest. I think this is on a good way, but yeah, I don't know, people, for real. You can make it as interesting as you want. I think that's just personal taste. If you're more the minimalistic kind of person, or if you really like adding and adding and adding. This sounds cool. Yeah, I like it. Only in the drop sections, not in the break. You can push this also, but what is this Glockenspiel loop? Maybe we can push this back as well with the reverb. we're coming to an end. We could stack a lot more onto this track and I think it would work out. But for the sake of the length of this video, I will stop at this point and start showing you some little extra tricks that are plugin based but are super important for me and for the system that I work in. As I told you earlier, I am referencing from the beginning on, and I have this reference channel right here and I have my own channel. And I'm using a plugin for this, which is called Minimeters. It's a plugin and it's a pretty cool plugin, of course it is, because it shows you the actual waveform that you will see on a CDJ. And that's super, super sick. And that can help you to really reference so many cool details. So for example, if I put in like a track from Makebo and maybe Tim Green, obviously you cannot hear those now because this is on YouTube, but just visually, I'm just talking visually right here. It already shows us so much details. Okay, so I will use an utility to mute those references here. Mute. But before that, we want our minimeters also on our references. So that's the trick. You have two minimeters, one on your own master and one of the master of the reference, one in the channel of the references, okay? Now I want to go into the key mapping again and hit free here on the minimeters of our reference and on the minimeters of our own track. So I can just open them up with one click and I don't have to go like back and forth all the time. All right, so now with key free, I can just open them up all the time, as I said. Cool, so now we won't hear the track of Tim Green, but we will see it. And now I would start, for example, in the indie intro. I would open up my track, which is on the left, master, and his ones, the reference is on the right. And just compare the loudness, for example. Now I can already see down here, I just stopped the waveform. This blue stuff is high frequency, so this is the head. There are some little percussive things going on, and everything that is red is bass and kick drum. So now I can really, if I click here, I can see levels. So I can see my hi-hat in the beginning is peaking at -2, and his is peaking at -5. So his head is a little bit more quiet in the beginning, and maybe it changes over time. I guess it will change because layers will come in later on. But that's so interesting. It's giving us so much information about the different elements. And then if we switch to a part where bass is coming in, or a kick drum, for example, in his track, which comes here, you can turn off the warp right here. Now you can see that's his kick drum right here. And that's the loudness of his kick drum. It's peaking around, well, -0.2, ours is peaking around -0.6, -0.5, so we could be a little bit louder even on our kick drum. Now his heads are completely maxed out. That's his head here at this point, and here are some melodics. So you can really measure the exact level of the elements that you can see in your reference track, and you know, you just want to see that those things are in a way similar. So if I want to go to the main drop section of our track, and then if I go to Makebo's main drop section, for example here, they look kind of similar. His bass, for example, here, you can see it's more reddish here. Ours is not so red, so this could indicate that we can mix our bass a little bit louder. The rest looks fine. So our kick looks kind of similar than his kick. Here you can see the white thing is the clap sitting on top of the kick and stuff like that. This is just a general checkup for you if your levels are in any case right. So that's building on the system of producing already on a mastered volume, not a mastered version, a mastered volume. We are now on, I mean, we can see it here in the drop section. We have -7 loops, which is already master volume. Super loud, super nice, super punchy. There's more to this mini meters that you can use them for. For example, you can analyze the kick pitch. So if we go to a part, and that's the important part here as well, you always compare the intro to your intro, the bass to your bass. Obviously, you won't take like a drop part and compare it to your intro, because that's just not making sense. You have to have similar components playing at that time. But let me show you. So that's his kick right here. He has no bass in there. I mean, he has this kind of bass thing, which is, I guess, a tom or something. Now we can see the level of his kick. We can see the length of his kick. So if our kick is much longer, if your kick is going up until here, it's too long. If it's very short, it's too short. So that's how you can check like how good your sample picking is in the end. If your hi-hat is down here at this part and his is down up there, you need to increase your volume. But looking up here, this is time and pitch. This is like I guess a spectrograph or something. And you can go down here, and that's the kick drum, this spoon style kind of a thing coming down here. That's his kick drum, right? That's our kick drum right here. Whoop. And now you can measure the pitch of his kick drum, and you can also see how long it is here. And that's correlating with this visual right down there, right? They're correlating with each other. So now you can go in, take your favorite track and try to find a kick drum that has similar shape, and really with shape I mean like the bending of the curve, a similar loudness and a similar length. First thing you do if you're comparing your kicks is you make the kick loud, then you adjust the length, so if it's not long enough you need a different kick. If it's too long you can shorten it up. And then you see if the bending is right. And of course, in the end or in the beginning and all the time you use your ears. But it's just a very helpful visual indicator for levels and so much more. I'm not really using those here. It's just some stereo kind of tool. But yeah, if I would produce like this, I make them on. I'm having my intro. I'm looking, okay, this is fine. I have good levels, blah, blah, then I'm continuing. And for example, you can also compare breaks. Sometimes I see that people have in their breaks, the breaks are not loud enough. You can see his break is actually louder than ours. Not very much louder. Depends on, it's different frequencies going on. But in general, he has like more mid frequencies. It's not as bluish and stuff. So we could be thinking about readjusting some of the drones, maybe making this pad louder. That's just all the information you can get from referencing with this tool. I just wanted to give you some more information about plugins that I use for my production. But literally, this is my workflow. I only use the glue compressor on my master. I have an EQ. I don't do too much because my philosophy is shape your sounds right and you don't have to fix anything in the mix and in the master. And then I am mixing in the same stage as I'm producing, and I would recommend you to do the same. The mini meters in the end, that's always my tool. And then of course I use Valhalla Vintage Verb for nice rooms. I use Valhalla Supermassive to wash things out. The thing that we did, the reverb, you can try this with your own nicer reverbs, make them very short, use choruses and stuff like that. Just shaving off that initial attack time a little bit to smooth elements into your mix. I'm not so much using the sound voice stuff, to be honest. I have it, but I'm not using it too much. I'm recently using Arturia's Analog V collection quite a bit for more housey, Afro house style productions. That's something that I can recommend. And I'm using the Pro L limiter to limit my peaks off. But to be honest, I would recommend you, after you produce your track on this volume, just insert a -10 dB utility here, export it, you have headroom then, and then you just send it out to the mastering engineer and he or she will master your track properly. Alright, so people, that's it for the production. I think I could spend here maybe 2 or 3 more hours on shaving off little things. doing something here, doing something there. But I think the time limit is over now. Thanks for watching. I hope I could help you with something, and make sure to check out Organica 6. It's, I think, the best Organica that I've ever created. Cheers!